Welcome back. Sir Anthony, I gather you found it rather hard over in Canada at times.
Yes, well, it was very difficult for an Englishman in Canada because the Canadians almost spoke a different language. I mean, in Britain, we would say barman, whereas over there they would say bartender.
Almost impossible to understand.
Exactly, and over there they would say bathtub, whereas in England we would say bath.
Incomprehensible.
Yes, yes, and of course in Canada, fanny means bottom, whereas over here it means...
yes, thank you.
An abbreviation for Francis.
Right, of course.
Oh, and ladies' front bottoms as well, of course. Front bottom.
KYTV!
Colonel, if we could talk now about your contribution to the war.
Just a bloody Spitfire here.
I understand you had a plan to bring the war to a swift end.
Yes, two in fact. The first plan involved the construction of a channel tunnel, which sadly founded on the impossibility of getting the Germans to agree a cost and a starting date at their end. So, to soften them up a bit, we launched a bouncing bomb. Brilliant idea. It bounced over their first line of defence and did not burst on impact. Unfortunately, it didn't burst at all and was last seen bouncing off towards Australia. So not entirely wasted.
Well, Colonel, I believe that we can now hear a testimony to your achievements during the war from your Commander-in-Chief.
Was Colonel Bartlett a cowardly man?
Colonel Bartlett was not a cowardly man. Let me make that quite clear.
Was he a good soldier, then?
Colonel Bartlett was not a good soldier. That's something that ought to be clarified immediately.
Was he a bad soldier, then?
Colonel Bartlett was not a bad soldier. I should like to make that absolutely plain.
Was he an asset to your regiment, though?
Colonel Bartlett was not in any way an asset to my regiment. I should like to make that even clearer than the fact that he was not a bad soldier.
Was he in your regiment, in fact?
Colonel Bartlett was not in any sense in my regiment. It is absolutely imperative that that is made even clearer than the facts that I have previously made clear.
Did you then ever meet Colonel Bartlett?
I have never met anyone by the name of Colonel Bartlett. Of all the facts that I have endeavoured to elucidate in the course of this conversation, that, above all, must be the one for which most effort is made in the attempt to render it clear.
Are you a homosexual?
Yes, I am.
Right! Although you probably do not remember it, or you forgot, but though it's quite some time ago, we bring you this World War II show.
Well, throughout this commemorative week, we'll be bringing you a series of personal reminiscences of people involved in some way during the war, in a series we're calling Personal Reminiscences of People Involved in Some Way During the War. Catchy little title, I thought of. Anyway, it's time straight away now to meet somebody who's come along with their husband, Tom. Would you please welcome Mrs. Ivy Pugsley? Welcome. Right.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Now, Ivy, we've invited you along today for a bit of a surprise tonight.
Oh.
Because during the early part of 1942, you spent several months in France, didn't you?
Yes, that's right.
And you stayed with the family or ambassade?
Yes.
Now, I don't know if you remember, but they had a son, Marcel.
Oh, yes.
And now, chérie, I know where you keep your hanky.
Yes, indeed. The man you bonked senseless behind the potting shed for 4 whole months, and he's here tonight. Marcel, welcome. Welcome. Shove up a bit, Tom. So, now, Marcel, Ivy, I gather, was a bit of a goer.
Oh, yes, she was really up for it.
I thought I was here to meet an old army friend.
Well, I'm afraid she couldn't make it, actually. I think she's died, in fact. Anyway, Ivy, I'm sure you've got a lot to catch up on, so I'll leave you lot to it. A heartwarming moment, always nice to bring people together again. Well, of course, in Germany throughout the war, there was considerable controversy over Hitler's, as some saw it, slightly contentious policy of Aryan supremacy and world domination. And, of course, there were many assassination attempts on his life, one of which is vividly reconstructed now here in the KYTV studios. And we should warn viewers that some of the scenes you're about to see are distressingly realistic.
The 20th of July, 1944. The days of war drawing to a close. Hitler presides over a meeting of his now legendary henchmen. Field Marshal Goering, head of the German Luftwaffe and Hitler's right-hand man. Joseph Goebbels, the evil mastermind behind so much of Hitler's propaganda machine. Heinrich Himmler, head of the SS, a notorious war criminal. And finally, the man himself, Adolf Hitler. By now fully aware that he was fighting a losing battle. His anger was unbridled. The bomb, currently situated under the table, was now 1 minute from going off. Had at that precise moment the phone not rung...
Hello?
and Hitler not been summoned to Berlin on urgent business, who knows how the war might have turned out.
Yeah! Heil Hitler!
This, then, is an authentic reconstruction of precisely what happened that balmy summer night.
Well, thanks very much, Mike, for that chillingly faithful reconstruction. Absolutely terrifying. I can barely contain myself. Well, that just about... Well, that just about brings us to the end of Mike Channel's life. Super.
Forget all your troubles, pretend it's yesterday. It's the end of the war, June 644, it's V-Day.
Well, just time for a last word from our guest. Sir Anthony, the victory celebrations must have stuck in your mind.
Well, I remember climbing up a lamppost, dancing on a car, blowing a trumpet and kissing a rather startled policewoman.
Cecily, VE Day must hold similar memories for you.
No, this was last week. I was fined £50 for being drunk and disorderly.
I see, yes. Cecily?
Well, there were, of course, two victories. VE Day celebrating victory in Europe and VJ Day celebrating victory over Japan.
Good thing we didn't win at Dunkirk, then. Yes, well, many thanks to our guests. If you've just tuned in, then the news is that we won the Second World War. And, of course, you saw it all here first on KYTV.
A reminder that next week sees the much-publicised marriage of George, Marquess of Stanmore, and Lady Catherine, Lyon's maid. And KYTV will be there for a ball-by-ball commentary of the wedding, as it were, and a blow-by-blow account of the honeymoon. That's all on KYTV at the slightly later time of next week. And now, a look askance with Jonathan Strumpkins.
Oh, lovely, lovely.
Hello, and welcome to another...
Oh, Nigel!